It's Miata time! Today we're talking about treasures. Are treasures a problem? The short answer, no. The long answer, stay tuned. Let's get it! It has been 3 weeks since the launch of New Capenna, and the hype surrounding the set sort of created this conversation of, are treasures a problem? Because there's this large influx of new treasure synergies like appearing in New Capenna, and everyone figured that the game was on a downward slope, that it was gonna die after New Capenna had dropped. But we're still here, and the game's still happening, and treasures did not break it. While there is this general disdain for treasures amongst the casual community, I don't really think they're a problem, and I think that a large portion of people who have a disdain for treasures have only had bad experiences with the two most heavily criticized, Smothering Tithe being the first. And while Smothering Tithe is a problem because asking if you're going to pay 2 every single time for every single draw, or even when a wheel happens, being asked if you're going to pay for every single one of those draws, otherwise they're going to get a treasure, is annoying, I don't think it's a problem because it's such a heavy investment. You know, even at higher power levels, it isn't heavily played. And high power, yeah, sure, why not? In max, probably not. There's just too many other great cards you could be playing instead of Smothering Tithe. When you're spending that kind of mana, if you're spending 4 mana, 5 mana wins the game. If you're gonna be paying 4 mana, it better do something close to that. I feel that Smothering Tithe is a balanced card. It is a heavy investment in a lesser played color that you really sort of have to you don't have to tech into it, but I do believe you have to lean into it pretty hard. The most criticized card in all of Commander, the one that just revolves around treasures, is Dockside Extortionist. In Dockside, I don't care what you say, Dockside is healthy for the game. Dockside battles fast mana. It scales up and down with power. It is not a problem because in let's say low power, what is Dockside doing for you on turn 2 when you finally curve into it? Maybe someone had played a Soul Ring, maybe someone played an Arcane Signet, and you're maybe replacing the mana you just spent on Dockside on turn 2 in a low power game. In mid power, what are you getting on turn 2? I know 3, maybe 4? It isn't crazy to say that you could get more, but Dockside does more in the middle, later turns in mid-powered games. And then high power, yes, Dockside is valuable. These are fringe CEDH decks. It's meant to be valuable because everyone's playing fast artifact ramp to get their combos off, to get to their win condition. And so Dockside helps battle those things because fast mana versus fast mana is a losing battle. It's just whoever goes first is going to win that fight every single time. Regardless of whether or not you believe it, Dockside creates a healthier meta across the board. It is completely a non-problem within the game at the moment. Recorded on May 21st, 2022. Now, that isn't to say that Dockside has never been a problem or could not be a problem in the future, but where it stands now, Dockside is perfectly fine. And the only reason that people are really upset about Dockside, or they have a disdain towards Dockside, is because they don't have one, or they don't play with one, because it is so expensive and has not seen a reprint since its original launch in Commander 2019. Hopefully, fingers crossed, reprint in the next Double Masters. But that remains to be seen. Back in Ixalan, when Treasures launched, I'm sure that Wizards didn't know, just as we didn't, how popular or how great Treasures were going to be. They had already had gold tokens with King Makar and Guild, and they didn't really break the game all that much. The primary difference between the two being that you do have to tap a treasure in order to sacrifice it for mana, where gold is just sacrifice. So if you do have a problem with treasures, playing against them, there are plenty of cards out there to stop them from happening. Blind Obedience, Root Maze, Yasharn. Let's see, I'm sure there's other pieces to stop treasures, Null Rod and Collector Oof. Go out and get them. Now's the time to strike. Go get your cards, folks. Overall, here's my general message. If you don't like treasures in your pod, stop complaining and play more stacks. Stacks win games. Let's go. They're so good. It's just kind of a crazy thing to say, like, I don't like treasures and I don't like playing against treasures. Well, you don't like it, like, build your deck to stop them, because that is what a majority of high power CDH decks are doing right now with stacks. Like, you sure spawn all these treasures, but you can only cast one spell per turn. Rule of Law is great for stopping treasures. There were some cards in New Capenna where people were just like, I don't agree with that. I don't think that there should be a card that does this. And yes, I'm referring to Bootlegger Stash. It is like, come on. Like, it is not a problem. It is a chase card that has a flashy effect, if anything. You're gonna pay 6 mana for this to come onto the battlefield, likely tap out to do so, and then once it enters, you're like, okay, well, next turn they're gonna make, how many treasures they got? Or how many lands they got? They got six lands? Okay, so for 6 mana, he's gonna make, okay, so 6 treasures next turn. He's gonna make 6 treasures. Okay, yep. Okay, and then it finally comes around to their turn. They make 6 treasures. It's not like those lands tap for mana and create a treasure. Like, what is everyone worried about? If you can't handle that in like 2 turns, like, you deserve to lose. If you can't handle someone stockpiling and telegraphing what they're doing, then yeah, you deserve to lose, like, straight up. So yeah, and if you don't have the removal for something like that, or if someone's wasting their mana on that kind of BS, like, target them. What's the problem? If there's really like any silver lining to the introduction of treasures, whether or not it was a mistake and then Wizards leaned into it, what Wizards has done for like years, for decades now, is blaze the trail for card games. Like, if you go look at like most other card games, Wizards of the Coast and what they did with Magic is the framework for a lot of these resource systems, for how the tabletop works, like where cards go, deck space, deck construction, all of that. So if there's one thing to learn from treasures, I'm sure other games are already taking notes so that they can implement those mechanics into their games in a healthy way, unlike the way that it was introduced to us in Magic. But that's a great thing. That means we're playing a game where the creators are willing to take risks for our benefit. They're developers who are willing to try new things. Like, we can't be mad at that. Now, sometimes when there is a mistake, like, yeah, Hull Breacher was a mistake. I am still upset that Hull Breacher was made. I know that my Xeris deck took a serious hit when Hull Breacher was banned, but that's because Hull Breacher was literally like a problem. It just made sure that no one could play the game. For 3 mana, it was disgusting. Over time, we've seen a lot of different cards support treasures outside of the Dockside and Smothering Tithe. I mean, we saw Grim Hireling in the Dungeons & Dragons set. We saw Goldspan Dragon in Kaldheim, like Academy Manufacturer in Modern Horizons 2, Stormkiln Artist in Strixhaven. And I think that Wizards has finally struck like a really good balance of power with treasures to say like, hey, we actually know what we're doing now with treasures, so here you go, here's a cool little card. All of those cards are incredibly well balanced. None of them seem to break the game when they enter the battlefield or when they're cast. So, I mean, there's not really a problem at all. Like, have you lost to it a lot? Yes, I've lost to it a lot. I'm not upset about it because it was fairly fought, because I also had access to those cards and I could have also played those strategies, but I chose not to. I chose to play my hand out, and those players who beat me using treasures did it fair and square. Did I invest too heavily in my board state? Oh my god, I have 6 enchantments, he's getting 6 treasures. That's my own damn fault. The long answer to this question is no, I don't think treasures are a problem, and anyone who does is a big baby because they just are unwilling to play those pieces. They're game pieces, everybody, and if you're unwilling to play with them, that's not my fault. Watch me show up and cycle Dockside 18 times for the win. Watch me storm off with Stormkiln Artist, drop, and win. Watch me drop my Smothering Tithe on turn 1 or turn 2, and watch me win. Goldspan Dragon in Feather, watch me win. You like Malcolm? I do too. Glenhorn Buccaneer, watch me win. Infinite colorless mana and I got a treasure vault on the battlefield, watch me fucking win. The introduction of treasures is just the game growing over time, and it's nothing to be concerned about for the future. The only way that treasures are going to move out of the game or be used less is if there is a significant incentive to not play them. So cards have to be printed to either punish them significantly or reward you significantly more for not playing them. And that's the only way that you will not continue to see treasures for the foreseeable future. We'll be playing in 10 years and see something new that you'll finally be like, is it worth it to play Dockside? Is it just not fast enough anymore? Does Smuggler's Share not good enough? So yeah, that's pretty much my rant on treasures. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and what's the other one? What do they like? Subscribe and stay tuned? Like, share. Oh, it's share. You gotta share it. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the video, and stay tuned for more Call Me Commander as we work towards our ultimate goal of getting an MX5. Mazda Miata! Let's go!